Hello, welcome to The Wandering Drew. I am Drew. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to continue my discussion on non-cook breakfast ideas. As you can see, the weather behind me is not so good. It's been raining off and on all day, but the thunderstorms have stayed away, so I'm able to record out here. In part one, I had to actually seek shelter inside while recording it. Last week's episode, I want to apologize if it seemed a little hasty. It seemed to be my most troublesome episode that I've recorded with problems. I had a problem with the camera. I had a problem with my laptop doing video editing, and at one point the video that I shot was unusable from the camera due to either focus issues or actually something that was blocking part of the lens that I didn't realize until I pulled it up on the computer. So I had to scramble to re-record it, and the weather hasn't been cooperating, and I just seem to have a lot of problems. Even YouTube uploading, I had a couple of problems. It took me several hours to finally get that accomplished. So if it seemed a little jerky and the cuts and everything were a little harsh, I apologize. I'm still learning and doing things and figuring things out as I go along. But I appreciate you joining me and coming back. Also, I decided to divide the episode in half because I saw it was getting long. When I recorded originally, it was in the 40 to 45 minute range. And I've gotten some feedback, and some people have been asking for shorter videos that, sitting down to watch a 30 to 40 minute video sometimes is just too long. And I apologize for that. And this video is going to be long, or longer than last week's. But once I start talking on a topic, I just realize I have a lot to say. So I'm a little talkative. But also I want to make sure I cover all the points that I want to cover. So thank you again for joining me. I hope you'll stick with it and watch it and get something out of it. So stay tuned for some more non-cook breakfast ideas. There are also individual sport specialty meals like Stinger, the waffles, they have the cookies, the chews, or even the energy chews. And I would not really consider those a breakfast as just energy food. So those are more snacks. You can obviously always eat cookies, things like biscotti, or like I have these breakfast sandwiches. It's really like a cookie to me. It's a cookie sandwich. You can do that. Also, we have different spreads that you can use. Peanut butter, nut butter, whether it's regular peanut butter or almond butter or sunflower butter, even comes in these small packages. They're already pre-measured, they're light and handy and portable. Once again, you can stick this in your pack, it won't make a big mess because it's already sealed, it's already measured out, or you could put it in even your hip belt pouch and then eat this as you go along. Okay, and this also goes into some of the other things that I'm going to discuss with some types of breakfast that you can have that are a little more involved. So for instance, let's say none of these really appeal to you, but you like having, like something like bread in the morning, like a croissant or a bagel. But bagels hold up very, very well in your pack because they're dense and they can take a little bit of pounding on the trail. Another option is either like burritos, some sort of burrito using a tortilla. And you can take something like this, and let's say you have the nut butter. You can squeeze it out in here. They also make little jelly packages. Sometimes you can get them from restaurants. If you buy something, you can ask for the jelly packages for your breakfast. Maybe you can get a couple extra, or you can just go buy them somewhere in a store and mix. Now you can get peanut butter and jelly as a breakfast option. Goes very good on either a bagel or a tortilla. One of my favorite meals are Nutella. This is a non-name brand. And it's organic, but it also has low sugar. So it's got less sugar in it, which means less calories. But it's still 200 calories for 2 tablespoons. So it's pretty good, and let's face it, it's Nutella. It tastes great. I love this stuff. And I will put it on a bagel or on a tortilla and just eat this alone. I don't need, anything, but you can, in fact, get this in smaller, portable, already small sizes. So now you could either squeeze this out onto your bagel or your tortilla, or you could just rip it off and dip it in there and eat as you go. Your choice how you eat it. But know that there's already a pre-made option that you don't need to put that. It's pretty hard to package Nutella. You probably have to carry the bottle, which it's plastic. It's not bad. And I would easily finish this up in a week-long hike, if it even makes it more than like 3 days. Sometimes I might just eat this directly as it is as a snack, just a spoonful or two. I really love this stuff. So it's good to go. Another option that you can do is peanut butter powder. Rather than carrying the peanut butter packages, going even smaller than this, is you can take a peanut butter powder and all you need to do is add a little bit of water. And if you're already eating something that has moisture in it so that you can put it directly on it, you don't even need to use the water. It'll draw the water out of it. Or you can mix it up, just put a little water on there and stir it up. And you have peanut butter reconstituted. So it's basically dehydrated peanut butter. And this is a great option. It's really, really light. And you can find these in all the major stores now. It used to be a specialty item, but I see this everywhere. And all the supermarkets and Walmart has this as well. So these are all options you can do to change things up from what you're doing. Another no-cook option, or if you're going stoveless and very, very common, is to make oats or oatmeal. And that's a very common breakfast item. Normally what you would do is you would boil some water or heat some water up, mix it with your oats, usually at a ratio of 2 to 1. So you would use basically 1 cup of water to a half a cup of oats. Overnight oats has become really popular, so much so that even the major companies are actually gearing or advertising oats as overnight oats. Just realize any oat can be an overnight oat if you let it soak. You don't need to pay extra for it. So your best bet is to get the old-fashioned kind. That's all you need. You don't need the quick cooking ones. You don't need anything else but old-fashioned oats, which are generally the cheapest product out there. Especially if you don't buy a name brand, you can save even more if you buy the store brand. And these are cheap. And once again, I'm going to open this up, measure out what I need into a small Ziploc bag, and I save a lot of money. Something like this might cost me $3 or $4. And I have, pretty much, if I want, even if I double my portions, I've got 15 breakfasts. So if you analyze the cost of that, you realize it's very, very cheap per serving. And to make overnight oats, what I did was, borrowing a page out of several other hikers. Thank you, Darwin on the Trail. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He's very popular with these Talenti bottles. He does stoveless, and he always advertises how you get this jar with a free pint of ice cream in it to eat, and then you save the jar. And these jars are pretty good quality. They're pretty thick plastic. They seal and they don't leak. So you get the ice cream and you get the jar, and the jar can be reused over and over. And this becomes your cup or bowl. You can eat right out of it. Be careful putting these in the dishwasher. They will melt with heat, so be careful. This one has a couple of ripples on the bottom from heat. But what I did before is I measured out 1 cup of water, and I don't know if you can get that on there. I'm going to move up, so everything's going to get blurry. But what I did was I marked it already with a line showing 1 cup. So I scaled this, so I already have a measuring cup on here, just like your regular cup might have that you purchase or buy. So what I can do is I can measure out 1 cup of water in here and then add my half cup of oats, and then basically close it up and leave it. If you're going to go to sleep, you leave it in your food bag. You can hang it up in the tree overnight, or you can make it overnight. Oats don't need to be soaked overnight. If you soak them an hour or so, they will be soft and ready to eat. The only problem is they're not warm. But if that doesn't bother you, and I don't mind, I'll eat cold oatmeal. The first bite is the hardest thing to get used to, but after that, you actually don't mind at all. It's food, it tastes good, and you can mix other things in it. Once again, you can add some honey or sugar to make it palatable. You can add other flavoring, you can add raisins, whatever you would normally add to your oatmeal. If you buy flavored oatmeal packets, like apple cinnamon or variety pack, all you need to do is add the water in here, and you already have a pre-measured oatmeal package. And in about 30 minutes or so, your meal will be ready. So it doesn't take long to make oats. You can exchange time for the heat you would normally use with the boiling water. So that's another option that you can do. And what I like about all these options I had here, with the exception of probably the tortillas and the bagel, you can do those, but you have to stop. Everything else you can do while you're walking. You can eat while you're walking. And that's what I generally do. I don't like to generally eat in the morning before I go hiking. So what I like to do is get up, usually pack up, and start hiking. And then maybe after an hour or two, I might eat. But a lot of times I'm eating while I'm walking. I eat on the trail. I don't stop to eat normally. Some people like to stop and take a break and eat then, and that's something you can do. But I generally eat and walk at the same time. Very rarely will I stop and take a break and actually eat. And that's usually only my lunch, because my lunch is usually going to be something that, like a sandwich or a pita or something like that I have to stop and assemble. And that's take time. The oats you can do, you can put them in your pack, and as you walk, they're going to be shaking up. They're going to get agitated. And in 30, 40 minutes or something, your oats are ready to eat. And all you got to do is eat them. And you can eat those while you're walking too. A little bit harder, but it can be done. That you don't normally stop for. And you can just wash this out, and it's ready to go. Rinse it out. You can drink the wastewater down, or disperse it. But you're ready to go then, and you can continue going and use this again and again and again. So that's another option. This gives you a cup you can drink out of or eat out of. So all these are possible choices. They're just something for you to consider and think about. I actually do this when I hike because I like to get going in the morning, and all these options can be done. You can eat either before or take a break and eat, or you can eat while you're hiking on the trail, and that allows me to hike longer and farther during the same amount of time during the day. Remember, these can be customized to whatever you put in is what you're going to eat. So if you have a certain dietary restriction, whether you're a diabetic or you're eating like a keto or a paleo diet, or it used to be called Atkins, any of those type of things, or you're following some sort of dietary plan, you can custom make these choices to your diet. You have greater control over them by choosing what you put into your food bag and then into your mouth. And that's what makes this such an easy thing to do. So you can stay on your diet, whether you're keto or paleo or some other diet, while you're hiking. It just takes more planning and more effort to do. But it's a possibility and is not impossible. You just have to have the desire to do it. So those are the ideas that I have to present. I'm going to do a little demonstration on some of the cooking things I discussed. But before that, I just wanted to clarify some things. One thing that I meant to put in, and I kind of skipped over it, but it's very, very common to share food on the trail. Even in the COVID-19 days now, but even before that, hygiene and disease was a problem. But especially now, I think we're a little bit more attuned to it because of what's been happening. It's very, very common for you to have a bag of, let's say, something you want to share. You open it up, and you're eating out of it, and eating. And this is okay if it's all for you. But then if your friend comes by and you offer it, if you're sick and you've put your hand in here and you have bacteria on it, you've now exposed them to it. The other thing that happens is, let's say you don't do that, but your friend actually reaches in and grabs some food because you're sharing with them. And that's a potential problem. So even if you're not sick, if they are, now you've just contaminated this food. When you ingest it, there's a good likelihood that you'll be sick as well. So in order to avoid this, one of the recommendations obviously is keep food just for yourself. So go with the smaller prepackaged foods that you don't need to share, that risk contamination. Or if you're going to, maybe you pour food either in your hand or into a small Ziploc bag and eat out of this. And if you want to offer it to someone, you do the same thing for them. Either, I always have extra Ziploc bags. You can give them a Ziploc bag with food in it to share, or maybe just simply pour it into their hand and then let them eat like that. And they can pick and choose. So this way, at least you're not contaminating the whole bag, so that every person you share with, if you share this with 5 or 6 people, there's a great likelihood that one of you, from reaching in, will have something that might make the other people sick. So just some food for thought, especially nowadays with everything going on, we need to be a little bit more cautious. And obviously it's always a recommendation to keep your hands washed clean, especially when you're dealing with food. After the bathroom and before you eat food, always a good idea to clean your hands. And this may also be a reason to turn food down from people that you don't really know very well, or they may be eating out of a large bag. Even if you don't see them putting their hand in here, I would assume that they have, and that you don't want to risk getting sick. So you can politely say, no thank you, I'm not interested, or I don't like that, or I'm not hungry right now, and turn them down without insulting them. It was very nice for them to offer, but maybe we need to change the way we do things and not share food as much, or change the way we go about sharing the food. Even before COVID-19, we did have a problem with like norovirus on the trail from hikers sharing food. So that is one of the ways I would have recommended even a year ago that you don't share food for that reason. So I'm very careful about who I take food with or give food to people for that reason. One of the things I'd like to discuss now, and actually do like a little demonstration, is something I mentioned in the video about taking stuff on the trail, like a protein shake or mix, and ways you can carry it. So once again, I have my Ziploc bag. And one of the ways I mentioned is a regular water bottle. This is a 16.9 ounce water bottle, or half a liter. And usually you can open them up, just take a small sip, to make room for whatever powder or whatever you're putting in there. I would probably drink a little more to get this down to like 16 ounces. Most of the time, most of your drinks or your mixes are geared for 16 ounces. They may be for 1 cup. So you have to look at for instance, I have a protein powder here. This is an odd one that it's 12 ounces. So if I was going to really use this bottle, I would probably drink it down a little bit, a couple of ounces out of there and make the mix. If it's a little watery or it's a little too thick, it's not really a big deal because you're drinking it. And throughout the day, I'm going to add water to that, and I'll get the material that I need. This is a vanilla, so it's white in color, but it's not uncommon to, find any flavor you like and mix it up. And it doesn't have to be exact because you're drinking it anyway. It's not like I'm doing a meal replacement and I want to measure it exactly. I really care about the material. Now, you can do this one of two ways. You can look at the serving size and weigh it, or in this case, there's a scoop. I can just do it generically. Here's my new handy-dandy kitchen scale that I can measure it if I want. And that's a good way to be more exact. But there's nothing wrong. For instance, I'm going to take, this has a scoop in it. So it's 1 scoop for basically 12 ounces of water. So here's the scoop. I can put it in here. And let's say this is my stuff. I zip this up now. I have it on the trail. You might want to take a Sharpie and label this, like how much water, especially if you have multiple things that you're taking and they all require different amounts of water. It's very easy to apportion the proper powder that you need by using a scale. That's the easiest way. But if not, you can use, various sizes of measuring cups to reach what you want. So if I wanted to use this powder into a water bottle while I'm hiking, one of the things that I mentioned in the first video is just cutting the corner off. And this is something that you can do quite easily. So I have my water bottle here. And like I said, I already drank a little bit out to make room for the powder to go in there and to bring it down to about 16 ounces. So what I can do is, if I don't have a scissor on the trail, I can use a knife, or I can even bite the corner off, although it's a little messier. But if you can, what I'd like you to see is what I can do is I can cut the corner off. And that makes a small, basically, opening that I can then take with my water bottle and begin filling it in. Just got to be a little careful. This is a pretty fine powder. And you can see it just takes a little bit of effort, but I'm not making a big mess. Hopefully, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I can just keep going. And then I can basically fill all my powder in here. I'm just going to abbreviate that for time's sake. I don't think you want to watch me pour that in for 30 seconds or so. And then I can just mix it up. And I now have my drink with my breakfast that I can drink all at once as I walk along, whatever I choose to do. Easy to do. Another thing I mentioned was these NutriBombs, and they are NutriBombs. There's a label on here. I have I think I bought 6 of them. So I used to take 2 or 3 to work with me and to the gym. And basically, you can use this separately as a funnel. Just carry this with you. Either pre-package this and use it with the caps, or without the caps, I can very simply just put this funnel in here, and this is how it would work. And then I could just dump it in pre-packaged as well. And you can see it works pretty well. And the same thing, sometimes you gotta tap it, even though this powder is pretty fine. It just goes in there. This is clean. I can reuse this. I can wipe it down if I want, if I really want to wash it out. And nothing has really changed from what I did a minute ago with the bag. I could just shake this up. So I'm not endorsing this brand. There are many things like this. If you shop at some of the, like a GNC or go online, I bought these off of Amazon, I believe, several years ago. I'm sure there's many, many products like this that you can use to store your powder in. If you want to reduce your weight further, I would take it without the caps and just use it like a funnel. It's heavy enough as it is. This one happens to weigh 52 grams with everything on, but if I take off the heavy plastic on the end and the caps, I get it down to 23 grams. So basically half the weight. So half the weight is in the plastic for the caps. So if you don't want to use it, I'd probably rather do that and then just carry a bag with my powder in it. So that's a way you can do to reduce your weight and take what you need in order to make, you know, a shake or meal replacement or protein powder on the road. So that's it for basically protein powders, and you know, same thing for drinks. You can buy drink mixes in big things, you know, big containers, and break them down. Now they do make small ones that are easy to do, and I'll cover that hopefully when I do some other videos. But there's nothing wrong with taking big ones and breaking them down. You save a lot more money when you repackage stuff yourself. As I say, it's either your time or your money. What do you want to spend? Sometimes I pay for stuff because it's convenient. Sometimes it's not. The next thing I'd like to do is show how to make overnight oats very briefly. It's pretty simple, but I know it's hard with the description. It's easier to see it. I have done this several times, and I know in the video that you just watched, I discussed using 1 cup of water to 1/2 cup of oats. It's basically like rice, 2 to 1. The only difference is you're not using heat to cook the oats. You're just using time to get them soft and rehydrated, basically, or soaked. So what I've discovered in doing this over time is that 2 to 1 ratio makes things too wet and too soupy, and they actually get too soggy. I would reduce that probably to 3/4 of a cup. The reason I'm assuming that this probably needs less water is that since I'm not cooking the water and it's not boiling, so I'm not losing some water to evaporation and steam, that more of the water is obviously remaining inside my pot, or whatever I'm using, my cup, and therefore, since it's not evaporating, I end up with it overly hydrated, I guess, or too much water in there, so it becomes too soggy and wet, and I end up having it just too wet. So I would figure doing this a couple of times and testing it out to see how it works for you, but I would start with less water. You can always add more. So I've come to the realization I probably should use 3/4 cups of water to 1/2 cup of oats, and that seems to be where I get, you know, it's not crunchy, but it's definitely hydrated, but I'm not left with standing water on the top. So, and I will show a picture of the last one I did that was one cup to 1/2 cup of oats, 1 cup of water, that is, to 1/2 cup of oats, and you can just see there's like a whole layer of water on top of the oats that you would have to either drain off or just drink it, which you could do. So I have another 16.9 fluid ounce bottle, and I have my Talenti bottle that I showed you. I have a mark. I'm going to try and get this to focus. Hopefully it'll come out. So you can see that there's a line on there. That I pre-measured for 1 cup, which you can do this. You can do this for 1/2 cup, 1 cup, 1.5 cups. If you're using anything to rehydrate or cook with, and you constantly need to do the same measurement, I would suggest making a mark so it's easier. So I don't need to worry about whether I'm guessing right or wrong. I just basically don't need a measuring cup. You know, I can just take it and pour it in directly. So rather than use a measuring cup, but I did use this to set this, I can just take my Talenti bottle, and like I said, I'm going to use 1 cup normally, but I'm going to lessen that. So this is a 1 cup line, so I'm actually going to go below that. So I'm probably going to use something on the order of 3/4 of a cup. I'm just going to go shy on that, and you can just see what I did here. Let that come into focus. So there's my mark, you can see it, and the water is a little bit below that. So I'm probably somewhere between 3/4 of a cup and maybe 1 cup. So it's a little on the light side. Now the next thing I need to do is add 1/2 cup of oats. So I already have a measuring cup for 1/2 cup, and once again, I have a big box of oats that I like to use, but I wouldn't be taking this on the trail with me. So I would have previously measured out my 1/2 cup and put it into a Ziploc bag that I could just dump into this. So, but we'll get that going. So the work you do before you go hiking makes it easier when you do go hiking. Once again, time or money. If you're using a package, it already says use 1 cup of water, 8 fluid ounces of water to a package. So all I would do is basically open the package and pour it in there, especially if it's a flavored. But if you're using the old-fashioned oats, you might want to add a little bit of salt to this to give it flavoring, or maybe I'm going to add something later. So what I have here is 1/2 cup of oats. I have my Talenti bottle. It's real simple. I lost a couple of flakes. All I do is dump that in there, screw on the cap, and then all I gotta do is time. Time is my friend. I can leave this sit, I can shake it up if I want, I can go hiking and throw this in my pack, it'll begin shaking and agitate as I go, but all you need to do is let this sit. Usually in about 20 to 30 minutes, these will all be soft and hydrated and ready to eat. If you're going to use something like steel cut oats, which is what I like, they're a little bit harder and longer. I personally like steel cut oats better. I think they have like a more rice consistency. They're harder and a little bit more, I guess you could say, like toothy or dente. And I find I like those a lot better. Those will need to soak a little longer. You will definitely need to probably go more than 30, 40 minutes to an hour on those to get soft. And even then, they might be a little bit hard, some of them, if it doesn't mix up well. But that's it. All you do is wait. If you're going to go hiking for a long period of time with these oats, they might tend to get a little mushy or break down if you're going to wait like several hours. In overnight oats, it's just sitting there, so it's not being agitated. It'll just soak. And by the morning, most of these oats will have absorbed all this water, and it'll be disappeared. If you use too much water, you'll see standing water on top. The oats will be on the bottom, and the water will be on top. You can already see a layer in there where the oats are sinking because they're heavier than the water, and the water floats on top. And that'll be absorbed as these hydrate, but it won't go entirely away. So if you find that whatever mark you're using is too much, just use less next time until you find that sweet spot that works for you. I hope you've enjoyed these tips. I find that going stoveless for breakfast helps me out a lot, helps me just get up and get going. I don't waste time cooking, I don't waste time cleaning or prepping. These are very easy things. Obviously bars are the easiest thing, but candy as well. Whatever you decide to do, it's what works for you, and there's no right or wrong here. It's just whatever works for you. But I find for me, I like not having to make breakfast, not having to cook or clean up, and I like just hitting the trail. All I have to worry about is packing up my camp and hitting the trail. And generally I'll do that, probably hike for 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour or two, and then I might consider having my breakfast. So if you like what I'm doing, please leave a comment below, hit the thumbs up. Love getting feedback, good or bad. And consider subscribing to the channel if you like what I'm doing and you enjoy these videos and are getting some value out of them. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join me. Till we meet again. How'd that happen? Which I could easily do by using weight